Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be sharing with you my spoiler-free review of Frankly in Love by David Yoon. Frankly in Love is a YA contemporary novel that follows our main character, Frank Lee, his senior year in high school. Now, Frank is a little bit of a nerd. He is in AP classes, he does really good in school, he likes all of the nerdy things, he likes to play video games, he only has one really close friend named Q, so he hasn't really had much luck with the ladies throughout his time in high school. So this story essentially just follows him kind of falling in love and getting involved in a relationship for the first time. Now, Frank is Korean American, born and raised in California. His parents are Korean as well, and they don't really like the idea of him dating outside of his culture. They want him to, fall in love and start dating another girl who's also Korean. So when Frank starts dating a girl in his AP calculus class named Britt, he kind of starts to keep it a secret because Britt is white, and obviously that's not going to go very well if his parents end up finding out, because they do have these racist tendencies and these thoughts and ideas that are obviously very toxic. Frank doesn't really agree with his parents' opinions, so he kind of tries to keep it a secret. Frank has a good friend named Joy, who is also Korean American, and Joy is also dating someone outside of their culture, so they come up with this plan together to pretend to date each other so that they can go on dating their respective couples without causing any suspicions amongst their parents. So obviously with a plot synopsis like this, you realize that things don't go very well. Chaos kind of ensues after this plan kind of begins, and then you kind of follow their story of Frank and this bet that he made with his friend named Joy, and then everything that kind of ensues after that and how things begin to unfold as he's basically lying to his parents and the girl that he's dating. A lot of the themes dealt with in this story were ones that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed exploring kind of that aspect of the parents and how they viewed people outside of their culture, how they, even though they were also considered people of color, could still continue to be racist and can still continue to have thoughts against other people from other cultures. I think this book explored that topic very, very well. Me being Hispanic, being part of a minority group, you kind of see within our own culture a lot of these thoughts, negative thoughts and things, comments that are made regarding other people from other cultures. So you see, within minority groups as well, that there's these racist tendencies. I love the way that David Yoon explored these kinds of topics. I feel like out of all of the themes that he explored within this book, that was the main focus and the main thing that just really hooked me as a reader, was just seeing this dynamic of Frank trying to hide these true emotions and these true feelings towards somebody that wasn't part of his culture, and how he tried to manage these things with his parents, how he slowly tried to educate and teach his parents, what the right thing to say was, what the right thing to do was, trying to convince them to not view other people from outside their culture the way that they do, and then how stubborn his parents, especially his father, could be with his thoughts and how he thinks of things. And I feel like that was one of the things that resonated the most with me, was just how you see these thoughts and these opinions within minority cultures as well. Wrapped within this kind of really heavy theme of race and culture, you have this love story, obviously, of Frank falling in love for the first time, getting into a relationship, really kind of knowing what it is to deal with somebody else from a different culture, how he sees Britt view certain things, how he sees her interact with her parents, and then compares it to how he interacts himself with his parents. I felt like it was great. On top of him starting to date Britt, who's white, he has his best friend named Q, who's African American, and then he also compares these two things. Obviously, you have Frank's parents who accept Q because he's Frank's friend, but not necessarily because he's African American, which scares Frank at times, and also kind of keeps Q at a distance when it comes to interacting with his family, inviting him over to his house and everything. It's just very interesting to kind of read through and see that dynamic that he has with all of these people around him, because he's in a very diverse kind of group of friends and a very diverse location as far as his school goes, and then at home, everything is contained to just being Koreans. His parents are only friends with other Koreans. They only really socialize with other Koreans. They only invite people over to dinner and everything who is Korean. So within the house, within the home, kind of structure, the only people he interacts with is with Koreans, while outside of his home he's interacting with everybody from a lot of different cultures. So he's basically feels like he's living in two different worlds. You know, he doesn't feel Korean enough because he doesn't really know Korean, he doesn't really speak it very well. So you see these interactions throughout the book where he never feels like he's enough as far as his culture goes, and then he's in outside cultures and doesn't feel accepted either, and you see these things throughout the novel. Frank, I think, was a great main character. I connected with him really well just because he's also, you know, a little bit nerdy, he likes, you know, video games and that kind of thing, so I was able to connect with Frank in that aspect, but a lot of the decisions that I feel like he made throughout the novel, even though understandable for a high school student, were a little bit cringy to me. I know later on, without going into any spoilers, he makes some decisions that I just really did not like. I didn't really like the way that he handled certain things throughout this story and the way that he chose to go about his interactions with certain people. I just really didn't enjoy it. I feel like these decisions ended up leaving these open threads within the story that we as a reader never really receive complete closure on, and I wish that we would have had certain closure on certain things that happened about halfway through the book, because it's just one thing that I just wish would have been, we would have gotten more resolution on. I feel like I would have been more satisfied with the ending if we would have gotten resolution on certain things, but again, it can be a little bit realistic at times. You know, there are certain decisions sometimes that we make and we continue to move on, and we don't really think back to the past or wonder sometimes what would have happened to somebody, or how this person continued to live their lives after we've moved on from certain friend groups or have decided to leave behind certain people. So I guess in that aspect it's realistic because you never really, you never really find out how certain people's stories end up once we as people end up kind of growing apart from each other. Overall, I ended up really, really loving this book. Other than, you know, some of the character flaws that Frank has, I really ended up enjoying these themes that David Yoon explored. Like I said, race, family dynamic was great. Sexuality, identity, these were so many great themes within this story that I really loved that ended up kind of overshadowing the couple of things that I didn't really enjoy. If you guys do decide to pick up Frankly in Love, just know it's not going to be the typical YA romance where it's very romance heavy. I end up preferring this kind of contemporary where yes, there's some romance, yes, there's a little bit of focus on it, but it deals ultimately with heavier things. I love when YA contemporaries can deal with issues like race and family dynamics and things. Those I feel like are my favorite themes within YA contemporary, and I did still really enjoy this novel and do still highly recommend it. I think I ended up giving it about 4.5 stars or so. If you guys have read Frankly in Love, let me know down below. I would love to know your thoughts on this novel. If you guys enjoyed this review, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.